Welcome to the Strong, Single and Human podcast. A real look at single parenting, how to navigate the ups and downs of life with kids on your own while keeping sane. We cover all manner of subjects from domestic violence, dealing with childhood trauma, through to fussy eaters and how to help your kids become resilient. I'm your host, Claire Martin. Welcome. This week's guest, Diane Windsor, has been a single mum twice and has been through 2 divorces. She has been in marriage counselling more years than she's been married. She is passionate about helping mothers, especially single mothers, tell their stories. She was a leader of a single parent support group for 8 years until COVID, and during her journey, she has become an accomplished author. Her works focus on topics that are important to single mums. Diane has published the following books: Stuck, Smokescreen, and How to Relationship, a relationship guide for teens with divorced parents. And I'm sure there'll be many more books to come. You're listening to the Strong, Single and Human podcast. Welcome, Diane. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Claire. Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, wow. Thank you. Thank you for coming on board.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us. So look, tell us a bit about your journey and how you got to start writing these books. Because, you've been a single mom twice now.
I know, right?
Yeah.
You know, if we only knew then what we know now.
I know.
You know, but yeah, I was divorced in 95. I remarried in 97. And then I divorced again in 2005. And I had 2 kids from my first husband, and then a third with my second husband. And honestly, we got married because I was pregnant that second time around. And, we were kind of planning on it anyway, but it all happened very quickly. And, that's something I learned. It's like, just because you're pregnant doesn't mean you have to get married. You can probably figure it out some other way. And
I didn't get married, but it happened it happened really quickly. We've been talking about it and things like that. And then 3 weeks later, I'm pregnant. And I'm like, I thought I might need a bit of help at my age, but no.
Yeah.
Bang, meant to be. And and I don't regret it because I have a fantastic kid.
Sure.
How could I?
I don't regret it either. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But just, if I knew then the things that I knew now, I probably would have done things a little bit differently. But as you said, I was a single mom twice, and I just started writing these books after I was divorced the second time, because I realized that when I was a single mom, there wasn't a whole lot of material out there to help a single mom help her navigate life. And yeah, it's such a difficult thing, as you know, and not having the support of a partner. And I know some parents, divorced parents, are able to co-parent very well. And I feel that I had that with my first husband, my first ex-husband. But then the second time around, it wasn't that way. We were pretty much on our own. And we made it work, of course.
So
sure.
How old were your children from your first marriage when you separated?
They were little. They were gosh, how old were they? 2 and 5, I think.
Wow.
They were little. Yeah. And honestly, I take complete responsibility. I was a real jerk when I was in my 20s. I do. I was just horrible.
Well, but that's where 20s, my view is that 20s is where we learn about ourselves and learn a lot of stuff.
Exactly.
I was an idiot in my 20s. There were a lot of things I did that I went, I'm surprised I made it to my 30s.
There you go. Me too.
Me too. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But we did, and it's all good. And
you can't live life with regrets, right? I mean, we learned from our mistakes and hope not to repeat them.
yeah.
But then I went ahead and my second husband was completely different from my first husband. And I thought, this is it. It's going to work out. It's going to be fine. But no.
Well, this is the thing though, because I agree with what you're saying, because I'd been in an 8-year relationship where I'd wanted children, and we'd had lots of discussions and sort of attempts at trying, but he didn't really want kids.
Mm-hmm.
Not with me anyway. He's got 2 now. But my son's dad is completely different from that partner.
It was different people. Yeah.
Well, but I thought, oh, well, maybe that didn't work out because he was a particular type of person.
Right.
And maybe going for somebody different might be a better fit with me.
Right. That's kind of what I was thinking too.
No,
yeah.
Still the same issues with the same people, which, I'm sitting there going, well, and the last 4 years I've gone, well, there's only one similar factor in all of that, which was me. Mm-hmm. So maybe I've got lessons to learn and I need to work on myself. Mm-hmm. And move forward that way. That's
very smart. Yeah, very mature.
Well, I'm not sure. I should have done that when in my 20s, but
there you go. Me too. Yeah. But then,
so how old was your son? Your third son?
Yeah.
Third son?
Well, second son, third child. So I've got 2 boys and a girl. She's in the middle. And then, so he was 7 when we split up.
Oh, so a bit older.
Yeah. And that was when I realized my gosh, he wasn't working. He wanted to start his own business, but it wasn't doing anything. And so then he refused to get a job. He refused to have employment. And I was at home with the children at the time. And so I wasn't working. And when we divorced in 2005, our finances were just horrible. We sold our house and I actually moved to a different state. We were living in Colorado in the US, and I moved to Texas because my first husband, this is actually kind of funny. My first husband was moving to Texas for work. And he asked me, he knew what was going on with my second marriage. And he asked if I would move to Texas with the kids.
And you had all the kids at this point.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. My second divorce wasn't final yet. And, so we were still working on that. And I said no, because they're already going through a lot of turmoil, a lot of change, and I don't want to make it any worse for them than it is. But I started looking for jobs in the area that I was living, and I had some interviews, but I wasn't getting any offers. And then just for the hell of it, I went ahead and I applied for a job in Texas, in the area where my ex-husband was moving to. And they pretty much hired me based on a telephone interview. So I'm like, okay, I guess we're moving to Texas. And basically, Claire, I had to decide which father my 3 kids should be around. Wow. That's kind of what it boiled down to.
Yeah. And you had 2 boys as well, right? So
yes.
The influence of, the male influence is extremely important. Well, I mean, it's important to girls as well.
Girls too, sure.
But it's different.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah. Yeah. And he had always been wonderful with my youngest son, from my second marriage. He was my first husband's name is Phil, and he was just a great guy. He actually passed away from cancer in 2018.
Oh no!
At the age of 57. Yeah, that was rough.
Oh,
that was
shame.
Rough. Yeah. So, but he was just a great dad to all 3 of my kids.
Yeah.
And so we made the decision to go to make that move, and he was wonderful. He let me stay with him in his home for 6 months until I could get back on my feet, because after this time in my second marriage where nobody was working and we were basically living on credit cards, I knew that I needed to do something different with my finances, but I wasn't sure what. And the fact that he let me live in his home, rent free and everything, and that was so helpful. That was just wonderful. But I got a job, I was working, so, I contributed. But yeah. So I knew at that time that I needed to change the way I manage my money. I never had a plan, I don't think my parents ever taught me how to handle money. They thought that they did, but I remember my mother teaching me how to write a check, but they never really talked about how to make sure that you're spending less than you're earning, that I remember this was in the 80s when she thought helping me get a department store credit card was a good idea and would help teach me financial responsibility. But right?
Yeah.
But it didn't really work.
But no, because I'm just sitting there going, well, you just go,
yeah,
this is great. I can spend this money this month, not a problem. But then you've then got to pay it back. And then you've got to understand that if you don't pay it all back that month, you've then got to pay interest on that money, which actually means you're paying back some cases 20
for those
25
for those
to
department
30%.
store cards. Exactly. Those interest rates are very high.
So you spend $100 and you've got to pay back 130.
So what's up with that? So,
and you pay back 130 if you pay that back in the next month. Other than that,
it's compounding. It keeps growing.
Interest on top.
Growing.
Yeah.
Right. So she meant well. I know she did. But, and it's also possible. Oh my gosh, this is when I was like 16 years old. She probably tried to explain this to me and I wasn't hearing it. But I would never recommend getting a 16-year-old any kind of credit card. I don't think it's necessary. So, so I, in my early adulthood, I guess I thought that I knew what I was doing, but I didn't really. And then I remember starting to just after my second divorce in 2005, needing to learn what to do. And so I started, there were like some talk radio shows that I would listen to with, quote, financial experts, but it was some of that kind of resonated with me. And it's like, I realized, okay, writing up a budget is important. So every time you get paid, figure out what part of your paycheck is going to which expenses. And that's important.
Pay your bills first. I mean, I was always taught pay your bills first, and then whatever you got left over, you've never got to worry, right? You can spend all of that if you want.
But make sure your
month
bills are paid
on whatever you want. But you've got to make sure that, your bills, your house, your water, your electricity, your food, all of the main sort of things.
Now, a lot of people will say, pay yourself first. And I kind of agree with that as far as like savings. Like maybe you have a job that has a retirement program and you're able to contribute 5% of your gross paycheck to that program, and your employer might contribute a match as well. So that's a good idea, but you also don't want to do too much of that if you have debt that you have to pay off first, right? You kind of want to, it's a little chicken and the egg going on there. You want to get you don't want to have a lot of extra debt that you're paying off every month, but you want to make sure that you're saving money too. So, and that's something that I do talk about in the book that I wrote.
Yeah.
Which
one? You've got 3.
Oh.
There's so many. Like, hello.
That's funny. So like I've always kind of wanted to be a writer.
Yes. Well, you are now.
Well, thanks. But I'm not a creative writer though. You know what I mean? It's more nonfiction, and I don't have that. My brain doesn't work that way.
I'm impressed because I haven't written one book.
Sweet.
So it's great. They always say, don't they, that everyone has a book in them. So, yeah, but I know what you mean. I would love to write. I'm never going to do this, but I would love to write like a Harry Potter, like teenage fantasy, Harry Potter.
Sure.
Like hats off to J.K. Rowling. I mean, fantastic
Absolutely.
for her. But yeah, and I'd love to get her on because she was a single mum in a desperate place, sitting,
right,
typing away, writing a book, disappearing into her fantasy world
Exactly.
which made her millions in the end. So,
Yeah.
follow your
Yeah.
passions.
No, her story is wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah. As a single mom.
Yeah.
Who was, like you said, was in a pretty desperate
Oh,
situation. So
yeah. I mean, she wasn't like she hadn't been a millionaire. Well, she might even be a billionaire now. But, she came from poverty. She
right.
was sitting in like, what was it, a 2-bedroom apartment on benefits or whatever. Like,
Right. Right.
yeah,
Yeah. Her husband took off.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's not like everyone has a journey in life. And I think it's all a bit up and downy
It is.
for everyone. And although we look at these
Right.
people on Insta and stuff like that, and they're all doing a fantastic time, and you go,
Social media just shows us
"Ugh,
the best parts of people,
I
right?
know. Well, or the
Yeah.
worst, but like, well, it's right though, because
That's
like,
true.
we only get to see one bit. We don't get to see the
Yeah.
realness. We don't get to see the struggles.
Right.
So, which book was it?
No, people don't
We-
put that on,
Yeah.
on Instagram.
No. So, which book was
No.
it that you? Which book was it that you put all the financial stuff?
That's called Show Your Paycheck Who's Boss. And that's the one that I just released at the end of August. And so that is specifically a financial guide and planner to help single parents manage their money. And because there are a ton of financial guides available on Amazon, but I found that there's nothing available specifically for single parents. Well, I take that back. There are a few, but it's more about like your mindset and being, having positivity and manifesting about your finances. And honestly, to me, I felt that a guide that is very practical. And step by step is more important. I mean, having a good attitude about anything is going to help you,
Yeah.
right? But I really tried to make this a very practical guide, like talking about a budget, figuring out exactly when all of your bills are due. Some people don't even know that.
Wow. Okay.
They don't even know what day of the month their cable bill or their cell phone bill is due, right? And
because that way you can juggle. If you get paid week to week, you can then juggle like what gets paid out of what paycheck and what gets in.
Exactly. Yeah. And I talk about that too. Some people might get a paycheck every week. I get a paycheck every other week, like every other Friday. Some people it's twice a month, like the 1st and the 15th. Some people get paid once a month. So depending on your pay schedule, you're going to have a different type of budget. Also, it's going to look different. But the bottom line is you got to make sure that that less money is going out than is coming in, right?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
It's simple. And I know I just said it's simple, but like, like being a single parent, like you had 3 kids. I mean, how did you deal with the kids and managing the kids on a budget, right? Because the kids don't realize about budgets. They haven't got a clue about like.
You know what? That is such a great point. I'm really glad you brought that up because, and they called me a nerd because I would hold family budget meetings like once a month.
God, love you.
Even with my 8-year-old. And I wouldn't go into like all the gory details, but I would just show them. It's like, okay, Halloween is coming up, so we're going to put away this much money for your costumes or candy or whatever it was, because every month there's any number of things that could break your budget, right? You've got a class field trip is coming up, and you need extra money for that. It's like, well, you have to be putting money away for that. And so I did. I involved my kids all the time and talked to them about. This is how I told them how much I earned too. My parents never talked to me about how much money they earned.
No, mine.
It's like, right.
Mine don't. Mine didn't.
You don't talk about money or sex.
Yeah.
With your kids.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, those are the things you should be talking to your kids about, right?
No, that's right.
If you don't do it, somebody else is going to do it.
Well, no, that's right. That's right. I mean, I've always wanted to earn. I had a paper round at like, I don't know, 10 or whatever, because I was like so desperate. I don't know, maybe I'm just independent, but I was so desperate to have my own money so I could just buy what I wanted. I did not like going and asking for money. Can I have
Right.
some money? Can I,
Right.
like, because I want to go buy, and being told, no, we don't have the money, or no, we don't. So I was like, well, this is no good. I'm not in control.
Sure.
Maybe I'm a control freak.
I'm not in control. But no, that's good.
I'm not in control of what I'm somebody else is controlling
right.
me and my money, right? And and where I get money from to buy the stuff I want, right? So
yeah,
I was like, nah, taking that all into my control, thank you, from the age of 10.
It's good to be in control of your money, I think. That's wonderful. But you brought up another great point, because it's like, if your kids come to you and they say, can we get pizza tonight? And if you just say, no, I can't afford it, I don't have the money, that's kind of abstract and it's hard for them to understand. So I talk about using the envelope system in the book that I wrote.
Oh, wow. Okay. What's that?
And so it's like, and really my kids always thought I was just crazy. I was so silly, but it works. It works.
Anything to get it into their heads that
right.
money doesn't grow on trees. Although my son turned around to me the other day and went, Mum, what's money made out of? And I went, paper. And he said, where does paper come from? And I went, trees. And he went, there, see, told you. Money does grow on trees. Money
grows on trees.
There you go. Well, no, not literally. I wish it did, because then I would go down the garden and I would plant a few. But yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A few money trees.
God love him. But yeah.
No, but it's like, so with the envelope system, every time I got paid, I would allocate a certain amount of money for each envelope category. So I had Christmas is a good one. So every paycheck, I put even like $20 into Christmas. And then by the end of the year, you've got a Christmas envelope filled with money. It's like the old Christmas clubs at the banks that they used to do. I don't think they do that anymore, at least not here. I haven't heard of that.
We have what's called layaway or lay-by, where you can put away Christmas presents or whatever.
Yes.
And then you pay a bit each week. So
yes,
if you're paid on a weekly
too.
basis, yeah, you can pay a bit, which I don't think in the UK they actually have, right? So when I came to Australia and I was like, what's this lay-by thing? I was like, what is that? Right? Because they don't have it in the UK. So I'm not sure whether people.
I wonder if people. Yeah, if they use that, or they might think, oh, I'll just put it on a credit card.
Well, that was what I was about to say. Like, I'm thinking that people in the UK would put it on a credit card, but the lay-by stuff is like, you don't pay interest, like you just pay a bit off each. You don't pay interest on that.
Yeah, there's no interest, right?
So,
yeah. And then when you finish paying it off, you pick it up. Right. The store keeps it. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. I think that's great. Yeah.
And it definitely helps.
So then, I mean, yes, it does. So Christmas envelope is one. I would also have a dining envelope or eating out. And so if the kids want pizza, I would say, okay, go look in the dining envelope and see if there's any money in there. And if there's not, it's like, okay, we'll find something at home to fix. But they always knew that next time I got paid, we would replenish that envelope and then we could go get pizza or McDonald's, whatever they wanted. And so another one I had is haircuts, because I'll never forget, I would have 3 kids come over to me and say, Mom, I need a haircut. I'm like, oh my God, all 3 of you at once? That adds up.
Oh,
it
does.
It adds up. And then what else would I have? I'd have entertainment. So if we wanted to go to a movie or something, I'd have a giving envelope separate from like,
oh, what's that?
Christmas, because we could buy gifts for other people. Like if they had a birthday party coming up or something.
And that gets expensive.
That happens a lot too. Yes,
we've just been to 4 in the last 3 weeks.
Right.
So that's 4 gifts.
Yeah. All these kids have their birthdays.
And you sort of, it's sort of like there's a certain amount, you allocate a certain amount for those birthday gifts, but it adds up.
Yes.
4 presents. Like if you go $30 per present or whatever, that's quite a bit. Because if the kids kids are into Lego and various different other things, right? Lego's not cheap.
It's not cheap.
I don't think you can get anything for below $20. So
I agree. Yeah. So that way you're not surprised and you've got your giving envelope. And then if you have pets, if you have a dog, you can, have a pet envelope, and just, you can, create any envelope category that works for you. And I still do that. I still do that today, even though I don't have kids in the house anymore. I am remarried, but I still do that. And I still have my budget, my written budget every time we get paid.
Yeah. I've got an app. Modern times, I've got an app on my phone that actually has all my outgoings and so what my salary is that comes in, and then all my outgoings, so that I can keep track of things that change.
And that's great.
Like that.
As long as you are, like you said, keeping track, you're aware of what's coming in and what's going out. That's the most important part. Then I've got a section in the book on paying down debt, because the goal really is to pay off your debt. Because then you have more money if you're not making a credit card payment or even a car payment.
Yeah. And then I've set myself a challenge next month. God, I don't think this is going to work. But because we've had quite an expensive, because it's been my son's birthday. So we had a party for him and stuff like that. So it's been quite an expensive month for me. And there's been various different things, because we're now moving from, we're spring, so we're moving into summer. So there's been various different things that broke last year that I need to replace, that I haven't replaced until I've got to this month. And I've gone, I need to probably get fan. I need to probably get X, Y, and Z. So,
right.
So yeah. Right. And so I've put it off. I've put it off because I don't need it. In winter, it's freezing, right? So you don't need to buy a fan. Gotcha. So,
sure.
I've gone, I need to do that. And so there've been a few things, like I've bought we call them whippersnippers over here. I don't know what you call them over in.
What is that?
It's called a whippersnipper. So it's like a thing, like an edger of the garden, basically. So it's like I don't know what you call it.
We call it like a trimmer. Does it just trim the weeds?
It's got a little bit of plastic that sticks out and it goes really round. Yeah, there we go.
A whippersnipper. I'm going to start calling it that now.
God, I love the Australians.
We just call it a weed eater. We call it a weed eater.
Okay, there we go. So it's.
But do you need?
Well, I haven't got. I've never had one, right? So I've wasted so much time going round by hand and pulling out for the last 3 years, and pulling out from the edge of my garden all of the weeds because the lawnmower doesn't get them. So I've been going, and I just went, I can't afford the time. I'm so busy at the moment. So I went Whippersnipperville's, Alabama, right? But this is the thing, right? It's like. It's spending that money. I go,
yes,
and it's a lot of it's.
I will say
$250, right? It's a lot of money in one go.
I was going to say there's nothing wrong with buying something like that used.
Oh no, and I did do with my lawnmower, because there was no way that I was actually going to be spending like $500-600. So I bought secondhand for that. But then a friend of mine went, these are on offer, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, that's great. And so I did, so I did get some money off of it. But even so, it's still too much. It's like when it's like over $100, I go, oh God, got to look at, got to look at all this money.
Exactly.
Single parent, you
do. Exactly.
And I don't get benefits.
And I do talk about benefit like child support.
That's a bit sporadic. Child support is a bit sporadic.
I've got a whole chapter on that too.
Oh my God, have you?
Different for everybody. Yeah. Well, that's one of the things. It's like, this is something, child support affects single parents, right? And whether you are the person who has to pay child support or the person who receives child support, it affects you in different ways. I mean, I have heard the parent who has to pay, they're not happy because they feel it's a large amount. And, I don't know how the courts calculate the child support amount. It's different for the different states here in the U.S.
Oh, wow.
Colorado calculates it differently than Texas does. Yeah.
So, I don't think any of them get it right, though. So
probably not.
We here will basically, it goes on so we have to do tax returns every year, right?
Sure. So we do too.
But a lot of people don't do the tax returns, right? And there's not really any penalty. So if you're a single dad, right? But I can't say that, right? If you're a single parent who has to pay child support, right? Let me get it right, because it's not all single dads.
It's
right?
not all single
Some
dads.
single mums actually pay it, right?
Yes.
So you submit your tax return every year, and then from your tax return being submitted, right, you're supposed to also submit what you earn to the child support agency, which then they calculate out.
Yes.
But there's no penalties if you don't submit anything.
Don't. Right. Well, and that's the thing. It's like, so my second husband, a lot of times he told me he could not afford the child support payments. I'm like, oh, okay, that's great. Now, and we did not live in the same state. I think that made it a little bit more difficult to enforce the child support payment. And again, it depends on which state he's living in, because for a while after I moved to Texas, he was in Colorado. They were not great on working with me to help get those child support payments. But then he ended up moving to Minnesota, which is where he was originally from. And they were very good at helping me. They were willing to work with me directly, and they would make sure that he made those payments. But like you said, there's, you hear stories about, okay, here they can garnish the person's paycheck to take the child support amount out of it and then pay that to the parent who's supposed to receive that. But he was not working. He wasn't working.
Well, but also we've had situations here where the father is on, or the mother is on a lot more money, but declares that they're on less.
A lower,
right?
that declares as less, yeah.
And like, if they've got their own business, right, then the business profit is X, Y, and Z, right? Yeah. But the actual income that they're earning is the bare minimum out of the business, right? But they're charging loads of stuff through the company. I had a similar situation with him. He had his own business, and I'm really not sure how much he ever earned. So, there's that, when this kind of thing happens, I tell the single parent who is receiving child support payments that they should not count that as regular income to their budget. I agree.
Because it could change at the drop of a hat. And
mine does regularly, and then I don't get, and then if my ex-partner loses his job, decides he's going to leave his job, I don't get any money.
They might have the best intentions. They might be a regular payer, for 5 years, and then all of a sudden they lose their job, and that's it. I understand it's hard. That money gone. And then it's money gone. So I think it's very important not to count on that as part of your, definite income that's part of your budget. Count your income. You should count on your regular job. Maybe you have a little side hustle that you're doing, whether it's, I don't know, maybe you're driving for Uber Eats or something, on the weekends, when you don't have your kids with you or something. And I have a chapter about that too, about how you can make a little extra money as a single parent, whether it's something like Uber Eats or doing something else on the side. Maybe you have a craft or something you're passionate about that you love to do, and you can turn that into a little side business.
Well, exactly right. Exactly right. You don't need to have, and there have been people online who have proved it, you don't need to have lots and lots of money to actually earn, to set up a website and to earn money.
Correct.
And all of that sort of thing, right?
Right. Right.
The one thing I would say about setting stuff up and get your cost benefit analysis done, right? So i.e. don't be making something for $5 and selling it for $1, right?
Correct.
Because you've also got to factor in all of your other costs, okay?
Yes.
So, if your cost of making something is $5 plus the cost of the actual website and the cost of posting and all of that, so you add all of those together before you actually go and put your price on there. And if other people are selling it for a cheaper amount of money, right? You've got to do your business stuff.
Exactly.
To actually to actually see if it's worth it.
Exactly.
To sell it. But I agree with you. I mean, There's so many. I mean, you can test websites. There's so many other websites out there that will help you earn money.
That's true. Yeah.
Doing bits and pieces, and like,
right.
All I can say is go on TikTok, search side hustles, and there's loads of people.
There you go.
Loads of people on TikTok or Insta or whatever. Much as
Are you on TikTok, Claire?
I am, but you don't want to see what I put on there. It's just like
I do. I
9 times out of 10, it's me and my son in bed going, "Oh, we like that filter. What's that filter?" And me and my son there's me sort of sitting there going, I don't know what that looks like. And my son going, "Oh, wow, look."
I just got on TikTok about a month or so ago, and I'm trying to help the book sales and also my publishing stuff. I give like advice to people who are indie publishers and self-publishers.
I need to talk to you because my son wants to write a children's book, and he's had this idea, and so it was really cool. Sorry, we're digressing here. Sorry, listeners, just bear with us. They had a couple of authors come to the school. I think it was in Book Week, and actually tell the kids about books that they're writing, right? They're well-known authors in Australia. Talk the kids through their books and their processes and what they actually do. And he was so like, "Wow, Mum, this guy we were talking to who wrote Macca the alpaca. He's the author. I think it's him and his wife are the author for Macca the alpaca, right?" And so he sat there on a webinar, because I think he's somewhere like in Sydney or wherever, and was talking to the kids and telling them, how, and getting them to come up with storylines and bits. And it was so good. And he was so awesome with the kids. And my son came back going, "Wow, Mummy, all of this." And I said, "Well, let's write a book together." So he's come up with some idea about a kid who wins a prize. We're not going to say the lotto, because we were sitting there trying to figure out what we'd spend the lotto on if we won it, because I think it was like 80 million or whatever.
Nice.
And he had a lot of big ideas, right? And I'm going, Jesus Christ, I'm going to be skint with this 80 million. You're going to spend it within 2 weeks. But yeah, and then he came up with this idea of this kid winning some money. And then, because my parents live in the UK, so about this child winning some money and then traveling by all different transport to go and see his grandparents in the UK.
I love that.
So that was cool. And now
that's great.
Now I've got to get his arse into gear to actually write it, right?
There you go.
Because we need to have a bit more of a storyline than that. That's like the vision. But now,
and how old is Oscar?
He just turned 7 2 weeks ago.
Oh, that's great.
So yeah, so I said, okay.
Wonderful.
And then I talking to a guy about illustrating it, but Oscar wants to illustrate it. So I said to him, "Well, you need to, buddy, why don't you draw and speak to this illustrator, and then you and the illustrator can actually draw what you want it to do and collaborate together." And he was like, "No, I'm drawing all the pictures." So I'm like, "Oh, okay, all right." And maybe I should let him. But
I love that. I think that sounds like a great story.
So I don't know. We'll see. So maybe I'll be speaking to you later.
Sure, absolutely.
We'll get published. But
yes.
Yeah, no. Okay. So sorry, we digressed. Where were we? Sorry. What were we going back to? Side hustles.
Hustles.
Did you do any?
Yes, I did
to get more income in?
This was back in the mid 2000s when it wasn't as easy to build a website as it is now. Like today, there are services that are fairly inexpensive and, very graphics heavy, and you can just drag and drop and create your menus, and it's pretty darn easy, right? So I was helping some people create websites back in the mid 2000s. That's what I was doing. And I did make a little extra money. So I've always been kind of like that. It's like, yeah, let's, but also in my book, I talk about if you want to try to earn extra money in your job, how to do that. Because I will say that I think it's easier for men to ask for more money in their careers than for women. I think as women, we kind of maybe devalue ourselves a little bit. And it's hard for us to think, oh, we deserve more. I'm doing a good job. I know I am. And I bring a lot of value to this company that I'm working for. And I would like a promotion and I would like more money. And I think it's a little difficult for us to walk into the boss's office and ask for that.
Yeah, look, I completely agree with you.
And I talk about how to do it. I talk in our book, I talk about how to, how to document and show this is what I'm doing that's above and beyond my regular duties. Because I'm sure we're all doing it, right?
Oh, no, definitely,
sure
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, my day is not a normal 8-hour day, you know. I mean, it can be all over the place. So yeah. And
so this is how we can, you know, demonstrate that, yeah, we deserve more. We're doing this and this and this above and beyond our regular duties. And and then like hop out to salary.com and see what other people with your experience in your industry and you know, with your length of time you've been doing something, and really go prepared. And then you have the right to, you know, ask for more money, or if you want to go look for a different position, you know, where you might be able to earn a little more money. Because sometimes it's just not possible to move up in your current job, but you can go to a different job and make more money. I mean, that's possible too.
Oh, look, and moving around and doing different jobs, although is maybe pushing some people out of their comfort zone as such by, you know, some people are comfortable doing, you know, they've worked for a company and it's all good. But actually then if you get out of your comfort zone and move and get another job, even maybe the same as what you were doing, but better paid or whatever, you find that you get different experiences, you deal with different people, you get different skills that 9 times out of 10 you can bring back to your old workplace, but you can bring it back and be a level above or whatever.
Right. I'm laughing because in 2016, because I have a day job, I don't write full time. But I take that back. I'm a technical writer and I've been doing this since 2005, and all kinds of different industries use technical writers. And so I got this job. I was hired for the job that I'm in now in 2016. And I work for a company that designs and manufactures spectrometers that are used in the semiconductor industry. Spectrometers are devices that measure light. They measure the different wavelengths of light, and they're used in all different industries. But this one, it happens to be used to create microchips out of large silicone wafers. And during the interview process, and I got this job through a recruiter, and I said, the guy's name was David. I'm like, David, I know nothing about this industry. I've never seen a spectrometer. I have no idea what it does. And he's like, that's okay. They'll train you. I'm like, are you sure? Wouldn't they rather have somebody that has a clue about this industry? And I was very upfront with all the people who I interviewed with and the owner of the company and everything. They're like, no, well, you'll learn. We'll teach you. It's not a big deal.
Wow.
And I was so intimidated by, you know, these devices and the software and everything, but they were right. I learned, and it was very cool to learn about something that I had no idea about. And it's just, like you said, it might be kind of scary moving on to a new job and, you know, getting out of that comfort zone, but I'm certainly glad that I did, and I'm very happy with my job.
And I've spoken to a lot of people who, like, because we've had COVID and it's been like horrendous over the last couple of years, and people have lost jobs, and you know, there's now sort of considering, well, maybe I take a completely different tack. Maybe I'll go and do a different career, right? Which is great.
Sure.
And I've had people who have been made redundant and things like that, and they go, I can't do that job. Like, that job's a bit of a stretch for me. And I'm like, go for it. Like, you just don't know. The people who are interviewing you may gel with you, your personality. If you're positive and willing to learn, and you are upfront with them, like you said, and you go, look, I'm willing to learn. I'm not, you know, I've got experience here and here, but I'm not so experienced there, but I'm happy to learn. I'm a fast learner or whatever. It might be that they might have interviewed 5 other people, right? But those other people just haven't connected with them.
Yes.
It's about who you work for and who are within that team. So, you know,
that's a lot of it. And if you're willing to help, it's like, I work for a small company. And so a lot of times we have to help with things that may not necessarily be part of our job description, but I'm never going to say, well, that's not my job. So I think if you have that kind of attitude that you're willing to help, you're willing to do things that may not exactly be part of your job description, but just go for it. So yeah, and that really moving to a different position, that's certainly one way to possibly earn more money.
Yeah, yeah. So did anyone help, apart from your ex-husband number one, did you have any family or anyone like that could help you? Were you?
Not really, not when we moved from Colorado. I'm an only child.
Oh, wow.
Which is kind of unusual. And then my mother died when I was pretty young. It was in 1995.
Wow.
I was 27. And so it was my dad. And he had a new partner, and she was wonderful. And he wasn't happy that I was leaving the state, but I really felt at the time that it was the best thing for all of us. So I will say again, I mean, I was very grateful to my first ex-husband for the help that he provided.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know a lot of single moms. Oh, well, one thing that I told you, I was a leader of a single parent support group here in North Texas for about 8 years. Unfortunately, with COVID, it kind of shut everything down, and we never picked it back up again because it was mostly an in-person events that we would have. We would get together. We would certainly talk about finances. I would have attorneys show up sometimes to talk about legal issues that single parents had. And and sometimes we would just get together and, for social events. But honestly, it was mostly single moms in the group. And a lot of them did not have any help from their children's father.
No, do you know what? It's such a shame that is the case. I've had experience on this podcast with so many different setups regarding being single parents. I've had ones where, I've interviewed people where their co-parenting situation is awesome and great, and then I've had ones that are really toxic and horrendous. Right. I've interviewed single parents who can't have a co-parent situation because their partners have died. So they're thrown into this situation where they don't have the week off sort of situation.
And like you said, some people do have family, their own parents or siblings close by, and some don't.
Well, like America being as massive as it is, right? Australia, we're a big country as well, right? You just have to move states and that's it. You're on your own because your family are like 4 hours away or whatever, or if not further. So like mine are in the UK, so they're like 24 hours away.
Yours, I know, I know.
But I mean, thank God for modern technology and the fact that we've got Facebook and stuff like that. So it is all about taking and dealing with that sort of situation. But wow. So how did you pick yourself? How long did it take you to pick yourself up from toxic relationship toxic marriage number 2?
I was ashamed for a while by having a second divorce. I really saw that as a big failure. I did. And I was kind of, nervous to talk to people about it. But then I realized, this is my life. I am human. I've made mistakes. And I really am trying to learn from them moving forward. And I probably waited about a year. Then I started dating a little bit again.
Wow,
in 2009. I know it wasn't very long, but I met my I want to say current husband, but that sounds
husband
like
number 3.
Yeah. When you say that, this is my current wife, I'm like, what do you think is going to happen to me?
Gonna have another one?
Isn't that funny? But we met online on online dating in 2009, and we got married in 2012.
Wow.
And I guess I feel like I finally got it right.
Yeah.
So third time's the charm.
Yeah. I mean, hello, it's been 10 years, isn't it now? So yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, 10 years.
And
Wow.
he never had his own children, and he's
Oh
been
my
just a
God, really?
wonderful, wonderful stepfather to my kids.
Wow. See, I don't know, that my personal opinion, not that I'm on online dating or anything at the moment, but yeah, it's really funny talking to other single moms. That's one of the things that they stipulate is like, oh, the other the partner, the new partner must have kids because then they understand the challenges that you would have
I get that.
co-parenting.
I get
But
that.
I wonder if it would be more complicated because then you're
I think-
co-parenting two sets of kids
Yeah,
instead of
yeah.
just one, which you would have.
I think it probably just totally depends on each individual situation, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's nuts, isn't it? It's crazy.
And it's been hard because my youngest, the one that I had with ex-husband number 2, he's had some challenges. He was my rebellious teenager
Oh, God love him.
in high school. He was out there trying all kinds of things. And then he was diagnosed with freaking leukemia in 2018 when he was 20 years old.
Wow.
So we had to go through this cancer crap with him. And that it's just,
And did his dad support him through all of that?
no,
Oh, okay, great.
that's still
What an
that
awesome
just
bloke.
chaps my ass to this day. It makes me so angry. What an awesome bloke.
Yeah.
You said it.
Oh my
No, he
God.
did not.
But
He
is
did
he
not.
okay now?
He is. Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes. He is still undergoing what they call maintenance treatment. So he's getting like a low dose of chemotherapy. You've got cancer in your family
My
too,
brother
don't you?
had it when he
Right.
was testicular cancer when he was 23,
20-something,
maybe
right?
23, 24,
He was young.
something like that.
Yeah. And my son was 20 when he was diagnosed. My son is 24 now.
So it was a bit of a shock. It's a bit of a shock
and-
when somebody like you're used to
gosh.
maybe, and you shouldn't be, I suppose, but you're used to people in their 50s and 60s and 70s being diagnosed with it, right? But when somebody gets diagnosed with it, I mean,
young.
like my best mate in the UK, his daughter, who was 5, I think she was 5, got diagnosed with a real virulent strain of like children's cancer, and I cannot think of the name of it at the moment, but it's like quite a well-known child's cancer that not a very good survival rate. And yeah, I mean, she's happy and healthy and sort of is through the other side. But yeah, I mean, you know, when you sit and you see kids and like young people with it,
and you know what, life just stops when that happens. It just stops because I mean, their life, of course, he was out of the house because, like I said, he was our challenge child. So because of his, he was doing things that did not quite fit in with the rules of our household. We asked him to leave when he was 18, but he was doing well. He was living on his own, doing his own thing, working, supporting himself. He was doing okay. And then he gets hit with this and just everything stops. Everything he was doing just stops. And then my life stopped too. He was living in another state. He was actually living in the state where his biological father lives, only because he liked it there, you know, not to be close to his dad or anything at that particular time. And I just, you know, he called me. He said, I wasn't feeling well. I went to a clinic. They took blood and they said that they think I have leukemia or lymphoma and I have to go to the emergency room right now. And I was just pissed off because I'm like, how dare they tell you that? They can't possibly know that from a blood test. But now I realize that they can because his white blood cell count was just crazy. And it couldn't be anything else in some type of blood cancer.
Wow.
And so I got on a plane the next day and I flew up there to be with him, you know, because he needs his mom.
As you would.
Yeah.
Like, you know, same if it was my son, you know.
Exactly.
I mean, it's nuts.
And it doesn't matter how old he is.
No.
He needed me.
And it's the same. My parents came out, like I had a heart operation 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And my parents were like, right, well, we're coming out. And so they'd already been out and they came out a second time the same year.
Yeah.
Because they were like, well, how are you going to look after a 2-year-old? Like my son was 2 at the time, well, almost 3. And they were like, how are you going to look after him?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're going to go in for heart surgery, hey,
Right.
ladies? Like, how are you going to do that? I'm like, I'll do it somehow. Don't worry. And my mum was like, no, you know, and
Right.
yeah. And so you
Right.
do, don't you? That's what you do with your kids.
You do.
So it's
Exactly.
nuts. But yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, he's having the maintenance stuff. My brother's.
Yes. He's doing well.
Yeah, he's all good. He had checks for 10 years after the cancer, and he got the all clear, and then it was a check every year, which was horrendous for everyone because you're sort of sitting there waiting for those results. But but he's now 47 and still annoying. But
that's good. I'm glad he's there to annoy you, Claire.
No. Exactly right. Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's nuts. It's nuts what we have to go through. But yeah.
But
so
I got lucky with number 3. You know, I'm happy. He's been a very good dad to my kids.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Yes. Well,
there was
number 1 was.
He was
all good.
too. Absolutely.
Yeah. God love him. So yeah. So look, where do our listeners get in contact with you if they want to? Well, 1, where do they get your books? Because you've got like 4 now. I've said 3, but 4 because there's Stuck,
yeah,
Smokescreen, and How to Relationship, a relationship guide for teenagers, for teenagers with divorced parents, which is interesting. I have to get you back for that one. But yeah, and now also this book. So like, where can people get the books?
Basically all on Amazon. You can find them on Amazon. Yeah, and I've got a couple that are only exclusive to Amazon, so that's probably the best way to go.
Okay, cool. And how do people get in contact with you if they want to talk to you more?
Yeah, if they want to talk to me, my website is motinabooks.com, MOTINABOOKS.com. And I am a traditional publisher also.
Wow.
So I think that's really where my strengths lie more than being an author myself. I like to publish books by other people. So
yeah. No, that's awesome. I might have one to publish soon.
That's right.
So who knows?
Who knows? Yeah.
And look, this may be a hard question for you or an easy one, and it cannot be one of your books. But I'm asking, this is my final question. I'm asking everyone, what book would you recommend for my listeners and why?
So, okay. I love fiction. I love stories.
Yeah.
And I think, reading books for fun is one of the best things that you can do. And my all-time favorite author is still Stephen King.
Oh,
so
wow.
I would say go get any books by Stephen King and scare yourself. That's so much fun. I recently reread Salem's Lot, his vampire book.
Yeah.
And it holds up, even though it was written, oh my gosh, in the 70s.
Oh, I was going to say, I don't even know. He must be getting on, old Stephen King.
He's getting up there, but he's still putting out books. I bought his most recent one. It's called Fairy Tale. And I haven't started reading it yet, but I will. But yes, Salem's Lot's a good one.
I've read loads of his books. Yeah. No, they're awesome. Do
you have a favorite?
No.
Pet Sematary is good. That one is so scary.
Yeah. It's just a way with how he writes books that just is scary, man.
It is, yeah.
And then they get made into films, which is even more of a nightmare. But yeah,
it is when you can actually see it. I agree. Yeah, but I do. I love to read. I love to read for fun, and I read nonfiction too, of course. But just treat yourself and read a good story. Lose yourself in the story.
No, I agree. No, wow. Thank you for that. Thank you. Well, look, thank you for coming on board and talking to us about your journey and about what some single parents can do to survive the challenges of being a single parent, which is a challenge in itself. No, look, thank you. And
it was
have a wonderful rest of your weekend.
Thank you, Claire. You do the same.
Thanks for listening. If you've enjoyed this podcast and you would like to hear more, please hit subscribe wherever you like to hear podcasts. If you would like to support us further, share this episode with your friends and family. And finally, drop us a review on iTunes, as I'd love to hear your thoughts, comments and ideas. It all helps me to understand and produce awesome content you want to hear just like this. If you want to check out our past episodes, write to us, appear on the podcast, or for links, resources and show notes, go to our website www.strongsingleandhuman.com. We are also on all the usual social media platforms, Insta, Facey and Twitter. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I hope to see you back here again soon. Be kind to yourself and remember, no one is perfect. We're all just putting one foot in front of the other and doing our best. I'm Claire Martin, and you've been listening to the Strong, Single and Human podcast.